Okay, you're all set.
Okay,
Excuse me.
okay. Well, let's call the meeting to order. My computer says 6:01.
We're here.
So,
Yeah,
um,
good to see everybody. It's been a couple
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
yeah, it's been too long. No doubt about it. Sherry, is that a ethnic spelling of your last name, or is that an error?
I can't see it. So what do you mean?
Okay, your last name is spelled with a T.
Oh, no, that's wrong.
Okay. Okay, well, you know,
It's the regular SON.
yeah, yeah, okay. Well, it's ANDETSON.
Yep. Well, that's wrong.
Yep, okay. But down in the lower left-hand corner, your name is spelled right. I was just curious.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I suppose get started with the biggest thing right now that I've been working on. And well, before the end of the meeting, we've got to come up with a plan for the CPC. Jeff, they meet mostly by Zoom now, right?
Yeah, it's been like exclusively Zoom,
Yeah,
pretty much for my whole time there.
yeah. Okay, once a month?
Once a month,
It's usually the Wednesday after our meeting,
usually, yes.
third Wednesday.
The club, they switched the times to the club. The Pokemon Club used to be from 5 to 6, so I didn't have a problem doing both.
Huh.
But the library wanted to change the times.
Yeah,
So now it clashes.
What
Like
time is the meeting, town
Six.
meeting?
the
It's
the
6.
CPC.
Yes.
It starts at 6:30, but I wouldn't get home till like 6:45 at the earliest after
No,
cleaning
no.
Yeah.
up
Yeah,
and
no, that's
everything.
not. I'm just wondering, with the commitment, what time it would be.
Oh, yeah, it's 6:30. Their meetings usually run a little longer than ours. So expect like at least an hour.
Okay.
yeah,
I'm only hesitant because I'm the president of the Self-Help Executive Board, and that takes up a lot of nights. And,
Yeah.
Sometimes I had one yesterday and now this. What does it entail?
Well, it entails funding for projects that have to do with housing, recreation, historical preservation, open space. You have like a representative from each group and committee on the CPC, and they go through applications and decide whether it's valid for CPC money.
And that's the money that we put into it to get this started, correct? Is taxpayers?
Yeah, I think
yes.
if I remember right, it's a portion of the property tax, and it's also a match done by the state. And that's like the majority of the CPC pool.
Yeah. And I think it also had to do with the sale of property.
Sale.
Okay.
At the Registry of Deeds. A, a percentage, there's a magic formula or something, but it comes from a number of sources, but it ends up as a considerable amount of money.
Yeah, it is. And it's pretty strict what can
Yeah.
use it.
Now, Jeff, when it follows the guidelines, do you then have the power to vote for it and have it continue?
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. They vote to pass the application, and then later on it gets voted on again to give them the money.
Okay,
And a lot of times when a project gets accepted, and this was a big point for some places, that a deed restriction put on the property. Whichever, if I remember right, that
Yeah.
means it can't be sold.
oh, okay.
I-
And you said this is Wednesday night?
Yep.
Okay, I have the conflict with my granddaughter in karate. Um, she has to be in Easton at 5:30, so,
Oh,
but I suppose I could always do it in the car. Can I just get back to you on it? I don't mind doing it. It's just gonna be a time crunch for me.
hmm. I think between the two of us, Sherry, you and I can figure something out.
Okay,
Think we can do it. Uh, I don't have any, although my grandson is very much into, Pokemon, and he's also into, Ninja Warrior,
oh,
and he does
God.
that a couple times a week, and I often have to take him over to Weymouth. And my granddaughter is involved with the 4-H, I don't remember the name of the horse program she's in, but she's also in the dog program with 4-H. So, and that involves a lot of stuff, but I'm sure between the two of us, we can handle this until Pokemon wanes, if it ever does.
You realize we're just chauffeurs, right?
Yep, yep, absolutely. But it's good that they have outside interests,
Oh, absolutely, yep.
healthy. They appear to be healthy interests at this point.
Yeah, well, she's
Yeah.
only 6, so it's
Oh.
gonna be a while.
Yeah, my two grandkids that are living here in Bridgewater are 11 and 13. And luckily, his 13 is not a 13 yet. I mean, he's 13, but he's not a teenager. It would
Good.
teach foolish. So,
Yeah. And another thing with this CPC, I mean, if they don't mind, like I could join just so they have quorum, but I probably wouldn't be able to vote or anything for a little while or speak.
yeah,
So if they're fine with that, I'm fine with that.
yeah. Well,
Well, maybe between all of us, we can get it done and see who, is freer the next time around.
yeah. Well, they
Yeah.
meet tomorrow night, right?
I didn't receive an email or anything. So I don't think so. Might be the last Wednesday.
Is Gina the chair?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I've got her email. Um, I can reach, I can reach out to her.
Okay.
Just want to make sure that they have a quorum to get things done.
I don't think I got an email. Yeah,
Yeah,
last one I got from Josh was this for this meeting.
Okay, because tomorrow I can't, but see what you can find out, David, and then get to me and we'll work something out.
yeah, okay. The only possible conflict, and I don't know if it would be a conflict, because I've, I've been a member before and, I've been the historical commission rep and, I, I had a project that was funded, so it probably won't be a problem, but, we're gonna talk about it a little later tonight, the sign for Titicate.
Okay,
We'll figure that out, whether I can participate in that discussion, I can go and talk to him about it, I would suppose. But whether I can actually vote on it or not, I don't know, you might have to take care of that, but we'll
okay,
figure. Yeah,
You could always recuse yourself.
from the voting.
right.
Jeff, who was the person who showed an interest?
Oh, I'd have to dig deep into the
Oh, emails?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, see what you can find. I'll reach out to him and see if we can talk him into coming. Them into
Okay.
coming. Was it a guy or a woman or?
It was a woman, I believe.
Oh, great. Okay,
While we're on the subject of being appointed, I did get the email from Josh and I got your retort. I didn't do anything because according to regulations, I can't be reappointed.
maybe you're more than 2 terms or something like
Yeah,
that.
I've been around for, oh, not as long as you, David, but since I retired, and that was 2012, so,
Yeah, well, I know they have their rules they have to go by, but when I saw that, you saw what happened. I came unglued.
yeah, well, I agree. I mean, it's not like we have a crowd waiting to get in. I mean, I wish we did, because it would be nice to have variety, but
Yep,
maybe they ought to change the wording, because if you're willing and you're, an upstanding citizen and you don't have a criminal record, why not?
yeah.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know how far we're gonna pursue it with Josh. He says, yeah, I'll put you on a list. Well, a list for what? And we're gonna have to go back before the Citizens Advisory Committee again. Well, I've done that. I think I've done that twice now. But I don't put a lot of stock in it, but if that's the rules, that's the rules.
Yeah, I don't mind that. It's just the rule says, what, 2 terms, and
Yeah,
you and I have both exceeded that many
Yep.
times.
yeah,
Oh, well, we'll wait and see what happens.
yep. Uh, okay, so, let's see. Plug in my phone just in case something comes up. All right, see the book that we sponsored or helped write, we wrote a letter. Where is that now, Jeff? Is that still with the with the restoration people?
Um, last I wrote down about the Edson book, the council did a reading, referred it to finance committee, and that got approved.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. I just thought I saw a note flash across my screen that finance committee meets tonight.
Okay.
So,
I'm excited to read that. I missed it when it was at the library.
yeah,
By the time I
no,
asked,
I
they'd
haven't
already
seen
sent
it.
it away.
Hmm, yeah. Um, okay, so that's the current one before them, and then I've sent you a couple emails on what I've been hearing from this guy from Michigan. Now, he wanted to come out the week of June 16th, I think. And my wife's going away that weekend, so I'm home with my 2 dogs, and one of the dogs has to go in for some minor surgery, and I've got to take care of
Oh.
him on Wednesday. Um, well, he's a male pup, and we're going to have him fixed, although there's nothing wrong with him.
Hmm.
We hear you.
So, yeah, but everybody says that's what you should do, so that's what we're going to do. So that's the day. This gentleman wanted to come out on the Wednesday. He's coming out to visit with relatives that week, maybe more than 1 week in Peabody. And he wanted to come down on Wednesday because that's the day that the OBHS is open. Now, I've got to get a hold of Mary because I believe they're open Wednesdays, Wednesday afternoon and Saturday mornings, I believe. So he wanted to get into the OBHS and see what they might have for additional information. I found some stuff in my father's files that may have come from the OBHS relating to Tiddicate. And so I'm going to give that to him and see what he can dig up. But when I told him that I had a bunch of commitments that week, he said, well, maybe we can make it another week. So I haven't gotten back to him yet to see just how flexible he is. But what I had planned to do with him, if he wants to go be OBHS, great. Go spend as much time as you need there. But I wanted to take him out to the 2 sites. And if you folks are around at that time, and you want to see him, I had never walked the ore site over in East Bridgewater. So that was pretty neat. The stuff I sent you talks about the information he got out of Mass Historical, and it talks about the ironworks that were rebuilt, altered, or whatever back in 1776 in order to build cannon for the American during the Revolution. And what I think is really interesting is they do talk about Titicut and Snow's Brook. So that definitely involves Bridgewater. But they also talk about Orr. Now, Orr had a, from what I can determine, he had pretty much a machine shop, or machines, water powered, and he was making firearms for the British before the Revolution.
Oops.
So, but the paperwork that I sent you talks about Bridgewater. Well, at first I thought, okay, that's pretty definitive. Bridgewater. No, it isn't, because his shop was in Bridgewater also, although it lies today in East Bridgewater. So I went over there to take a look at it to see what was there, and as struggle as we do in Bridgewater with our historical commission and our recording stuff, East Bridgewater, we're light years ahead of them, in my opinion, because they have a few things over there, but there isn't anywhere near what we have. So I went to the site, and back during the bicentennial, they started gathering funds to put a rock at the Orr site. So the rock just says there was a foundry here in, I think it says 1778. But we know that the Orr had his ironworks going in the 1760s. So, and the ruins and in his shop burned after his death in somewhere around the 1820s. And from what I can see, the operation did spring up later as East Bridgewater Foundry, but not at that site. So unlike the Bridgewater site, which is all houses and it's all been built over, his site is owned by the East Bridgewater Historical Commission and the East Bridgewater Conservation Commission. It's just a wetland site. So it hasn't been touched in 150 years. So there's a lot of really neat old foundations over there, and it's dry laid stone foundations. But there's no plans or anything as to exactly what was there that I've been able to find so far. And I've even dug up. I went over to the Santilli alloy castings. It's right down the street, and they've had a foundry there for a number of years. And it was might have been an offshoot of some of the early ironworks, utilizing the same water power and everything. But he grew up there. His father grew up in that neighborhood, and he really didn't know much about it. But he did tell me that Orr's a descendant of Hugh Orr is the current head of the East Bridgewater DPW. And I don't remember, his last name is not Orr, but a very well-known historian in East Bridgewater was Margaret Alexander, and she was a direct descendant of Hugh Orr, and she was this kid's grandmother. So I went over to see him, and he was more than happy to talk, but with his job and everything else, he really hasn't developed any keen interest in Orr history. And I've talked to a couple of members of the Historical Commission, and nobody over there really has any keen interest in Orr. They say, yeah, he was a very inventive guy, and he did a lot of neat things and for the textile industry and for cannon and guns and everything, all in the colony of Bridgewater, which is now East Parish. So I'm I see it as a challenge to sort out what went on over there and what went on over here. So I went up to Sign Design and I said, this is what we'd like to do. I didn't expect them to put that sign proof together so fast. But I'm going to go over it with him, with this guy from Michigan, and see what he thinks as far as having the wording that I used. But I went back and I talked to 2 women on the East Bridgewater Historical Commission, and I said, see, this is what we want to do in Bridgewater, and it's going to mention East Parish, and it's going to mention Hugh Orr. This would be really neat if you folks did something, so we had the 2 signs going up at the same time, both talking about the same participation of Bridgewater in the American Revolution. He says, yeah, that would be really good, but we don't have any money. And we don't have CPC. So I said, well, but she said, we're thinking about putting the East Bridgewater Historical Society together, and they would have some money. So they're going to see what they can do over there. I forwarded them the proof, and of course, ours is still in its infancy as far as what's it going to cost, who's going to fund it. I saw that proof they sent, and that's pretty neat, but it looks like it's made out of bronze, and I'm afraid that if it was made out of bronze, it would get stolen and scrapped out. So I'm going to propose to them, what would it cost being made out of aluminum? It's not anywhere near as pretty, but well, if they say that they can anchor this thing down, now that sign really isn't clear whether it's something that sits on a post. That's what I had envisioned originally, but it could be very well mounted on a boulder, a flat surface rock. So it's still in its infancy. Once we figure out what it's going to say, then we can start getting more serious as to what's going to be made of, what's going to look like, what it's going to cost, and who's going to pay for it. So, but I've had a lot of fun with that guy, swapping emails back and forth and doing some digging and research. And if when he comes out, whether it be on the 16th of June or an earlier Wednesday or a later Wednesday, I'd be Jeff, are you still there?
I'm here. I'm sorry.
Here I am,
My son,
I'm just rambling on, and I see that Sherry fell off the meeting,
oh,
and she's coming
shit.
back. Yes. Yeah, it said that she's now, do I have to let her back in?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, sure. Admit, yeah, admit right there. Okay.
Yeah. I was listening to you.
I'm sorry, I get carried away, Sherry. I didn't even know that you fell off.
It's not your fault. I
Good thing we're renting
finally,
a boat.
yeah, I had to go in with the code.
Oh, okay. So anyways, when this guy comes up on, whether it be June 16th or a week later or whatever, I will let you know, so that if you want to come
Okay.
over there with me and see the place, it's
Yeah, I'd love to.
it's not as easy walking as the Ironworks, but it's still, it's pretty easy. I think it would be neat for you to see. So, I guess there is a guy over in East Bridgewater, Willard Nye, and he runs, or he hangs out, well, how was it put to me? He holds court in the antique shop in East Bridgewater Center Sunday mornings, from like 9 o'clock until about 12 o'clock. And people come in and ask him historical oriented questions and so forth. So he's kind of like their guru on East Bridgewater history. And I've been over and talked to him and had a very, very nice visit with him. But I guess he ended up with a lot of Margaret Alexander's stuff, like the guy who ended up with all of Crane's stuff. Can't remember his name right now. Richard Hall. He ended up with all of his stuff. So he ended up, Willard and I ended up with a lot of Margaret Alexander stuff. So anyways, he's an interesting, strange, but interesting. I guess all people, history people would say that about me too, but who knows?
You're borderline, David. You're getting there.
Yep. Well, yeah, that happens when you get to be, what am I, 76 now? Yeah, something like that.
I know. I was just 75. I hear you.
Yeah. So that's where the Tittacut Ironworks project is.
Okay.
And I've been I finally retired again. I'm
Oh,
no
good.
longer working in West Bridgewater. Um, and
I
I
saw
feel,
your name on one of the weights. I forget which store it was. Maybe it was Trukey's. I saw your
all of
name and
them.
I thought,
Yeah,
oh, he's still at it.
yeah.
I saw your name too. It was the Cumberland Farms in Halifax.
Yep, yep.
Cool.
I'm the sealer in
On
East
this, yeah, on
Bridgewater,
this,
West Bridgewater,
on the pump.
Bridgewater, and Halifax. So you'll see my name in all of those. And if you ever want to get a hold of me, just call that number, and that number goes right to my cell phone.
Oh,
So, it goes through the building inspector's office in Bridgewater, but I think I'm number 5 on the punch list, and then my phone rings.
Hmm.
So I offer that service to the public, but it doesn't tell me who's calling. It just says,
oh,
it says building inspector's office. So I can't call back. I got to ask the people, what the number is. But anyways, so I'm all through up in West Bridgewater, but I did have a good time, many enjoyable times talking with the conservation agent up there, and he's very much interested in West Bridgewater history. And I had the pleasure of inspecting the first, trying to remember the exact name, it's the first church in West Bridgewater. It's over on Howard Street, kind of like real close to the West Bridgewater Public Library. So I had a chance to go through the whole building, including the dungeon in the basement. And it was really neat because, well, I thought it was neat. Because I was in the room where they discussed breaking up the colony of Bridgewater. It's the main sanctuary. And it just, I kind of let my imagination run away with me, and think that that's where the discussions took place, because that was the church in West Bridgewater in the early 1800s, and it still stands today. So it's been struck by lightning, and all sorts of nasty things have happened, but it has survived.
Hmm.
So it was pretty neat to see it. But the West Bridgewater Historical Commission, they do have a museum. It's the old firehouse right behind the town hall. And I believe it's only open on Saturday afternoons. So, and it has no heat. It has a little electricity, but they're trying to squeeze some money out of the town to get some heat in there to better be able to preserve stuff. They've got a little tiny room up in the upstairs in the town hall, but it's basically a walk-in closet. And they've got it chock full of stuff, but they're trying to get some better way to preserve their artifacts and so forth. Let's see. So much for West Bridgewater. If anybody thinks of something when I'm rambling along, just blurt it out, because I'm just trying to bring you up to speed. The projects in town, Historic District Commission. I was called to that the other day to speak about flagpoles, historical flagpoles in the center of town because they wanted to put in 2 more flagpoles in front of the Academy building. And the Historic District Commission held a hearing and they turned it down because I had never noticed it, but the flagpole in front of the Academy building is not in the center of the front of the Academy building. It's off to the side. And that was specifically done so that it wouldn't detract from the appearance of the Academy building. And this proposal was to put 3 flagpoles right smack in the center of the building, right in the front. And they just said, no way. On top of that, they weren't real crazy of some of the flags that they wanted to fly on those flagpoles. They want the American flag, the MIA flag, and temporarily the Purple Heart flag was flying there. But they just want the American flag and the MIA flag flying on that flagpole. So I talked to him a little bit about the giant flagpole we had on the end of the common, and I showed them a copy of a print that was taken from the steeple of the Unitarian Church in 1893, and it shows that the flagpole. It shows the joint in the center of the flagpole down near the top of the Congregational Church steeple. So we figured that this flagpole that was there was a good 40 or 50 feet taller than the Congregational Church steeple. So it was pretty big. And they turned it down, so that was the end of that. The apartment house they want to build in between the Masonic Lodge and Bridgewater Trophy comes back up with the planning board tomorrow night. They want to put 5 units of housing on the end of a 20-foot dead end right away. And he doesn't have enough parking, so illustrious town planner has said that he can use 9 spaces around the common for his tenants to park. But yet, where do the businesses park?
Yeah, exactly.
And I've been to a number of the hearings already, and the last hearing, the proponent asked me, he said, David, what do you want? What would make you support this? And I said, if you kept all your people on your lot, that's it. You know, you want to put in 5 apartments? Great. Have 10 parking spaces for him on your lot. And he doesn't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not opposed to him redeveloping the building, and I'm not opposed to him putting a couple of apartments back there. But it's just too intensive a development for that site. And there's a lot of fighting over right now, a lot of active discussion concerning the right of way. The right of way is very broadly worded that the owners, the lodge owns 10 feet of it, and the Steve Jewell, who owns M&S Auto, owns the other 10 feet. And it goes straight back for about 150 feet from Central Square. And the only description of the easement is that the owners of the easement are to keep the way open for all purposes. But they're arguing, or the people who own the easement are arguing that all purposes in 1888 meant for a livery stable, because we have the old map showing it as a livery stable, and not 5 apartments. John Sylvia at Bridgewater Trophy, he's very upset in that there's no sidewalk in front of his building, so it's very possible that somebody stepping out of his door could get hit by a car, or their door ripped off by a car going by, trying to get down in below the project. So And,
Yeah,
96
Isn't there,
Main,
sorry,
pardon?
David, isn't there already, parking, like, there's parking back there for the people that live in the current, apartment building?
There's no access to residential parking off of that right of way now.
Oh,
That building that's back there, it's just Bridgewater Trophy. And there's nobody living in that building. And, oh, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the apartment building on the other side of the lodge.
think so.
Demelius building with there's 5 units in that building.
Yeah, that
That,
sounds right.
yeah, that unit was permitted by the planning board in 2003. And it was permitted with the understanding that he had the historic use of coming down that easement, although he has no deeded right of way to use that easement. That easement is only for the people who abut it, which is the lodge, Steve Jewell, Bridgewater Trophy, and the man at the back, who the new owner of the land.
Okay.
So they're the only ones who hold a deeded access to Amelia's property. We've all agreed that the former owners of that property have been using the right of way for the last 100 years. So is there a taking by adverse possession of a right of way? You could probably make that argument in land court, take a couple of years and many thousands of dollars in legal fees and so forth to establish it. But it's yet to be proven. So,
And David, it wouldn't be economically feasible if he just built 4 units, so then he would have the 8 spots? Is that stopping
no,
him?
he started out with 6 units with 2 stories on top of the building that he owns now. This building out back is in such poor condition
Mm,
structurally, in that it was never built to carry a second floor load. It's all reinforced, unreinforced old brick. So he literally has to build a steel frame inside of that building to support the 2 floors above it, where he wants to add the apartments. So
mhm.
he has dropped it down to 1 floor with and he's what you got, 4 units in the floor now, plus the commercial space on the first floor. So he has downsized it, but he says he can't downsize it anymore because if he does, his numbers don't work.
Okay.
His numbers are huge. He paid 250,000 for the parcel. And the water connection fee, not the physical connection, but just the fee that the water department wants for the right to connect to town water, is $128,000.
Ooh,
So he's got that. He's got to bring a new sewer line in, and he also has an underground fuel tank on the property that he's got to
oh,
take out and dispose of, which has that underground fuel tank has fuel in it, and it hasn't been used. I think the statement was made in over 25 years.
oh boy.
So God only knows how much of it's leaked out. So,
Mm.
we've heard nothing from 96 Main Street.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. Nothing's going on there.
No, they've got the fire department has the universal vacant building sign on the front door,
Mhm.
so nobody's supposed to go in there. Although a couple of weeks ago, I did see some fire trucks there, the ambulance, and so I don't know if there was somebody living there, or somebody had broken in.
Squatter?
Yeah, well, they had a squatter living at Friendly's.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, it was it was on the Bridgewater resident page for a couple of weeks. Uh, a couple of people were bringing him food,
Oh,
taking care of the guy. He had a couple tents set up behind Friendly's, and And then the last I heard, one of the kind souls decided to let him move into their basement. So they took him in. Okay. You know, to each his own.
What's
and
going
that-
in that spot there, the Friendlies, and they've got it all fenced off?
Yeah.
Is
I
that
don't know if
security?
they paid for the fencing. It's just temporary fencing.
Mhm.
That site is coming up before the planning board. Uh, I don't think it's coming up tomorrow night. I think it's a second meeting. 77 high-end apartment units.
Ooh,
And in a building that's on one end it's going to be 4 stories and the other end is going to be 5 stories. So if you can imagine what that building is going to look like. Before the leaves came out on the trees on the common, I was standing on the front steps of the Academy building looking in that direction. And you look at that in that direction, the first thing you see is the triangular building where the just was it the bakery has been
Right.
for the last couple of years. Now it's a coffee shop. And that building with the sign on top is about 2.5 stories.
ooh,
Now, if you can imagine a building twice that height, about 75 yards down the street, it's just going to tower over anything else in the center of town.
didn't we just go through that, though? Somebody wanted the spot, and they said, no, I remember Bob Wood said about the parking and all that. I don't know if it
Yeah.
was the same lot, but,
It's the same lot, and
okay.
he needs, what's the parking? 140 parking spaces, and some of the parking spaces are going to be at ground level under the building, and there'll be no parking for the restaurant. And the restaurant isn't part of this project. The restaurant they refer to is not Friendly's, but the bowling alley.
Oh,
He's claiming that he's going to put a first-class restaurant in the bowling alley, but it has no parking. When it was Senzo's or the one after that, Bob's, the parking was in the vacant lot across the street.
mm-hmm.
He didn't buy that lot. The owner of that lot did not want to sell it as part of the deal. So the apartments will take up all the parking. And if you ever watch one of those hearings, Mr. Cormier will tell you that he's going to be here forever. He's a Bridgewater guy, and he's going to make sure that it's done right. So we have nothing to worry about.
Except
So,
for it's tall.
yeah, until the first guy with some cash comes along. But to make it even more, I don't know. The only word that comes to my mind is questionable. Is he went just before the election of the new councilors, he went and asked for a TIF. I don't remember what the initials stand for, but what it amounts to is no property taxes for 15 years.
Oh,
So we would end up, in essence, paying his acquisition costs for the land, which was $2.5 million, plus the rest of it would come out of the next 15 years in property taxes. So it would end up costing the town of Bridgewater about $5 million before we saw any tax money at all. So
was that granted?
no,
Oh, good.
because the last, well, it's not a dead issue. At the last minute, they figured out that it's like spot zoning. You can't just change the zoning on one lot. You have to change the zoning in a larger area. So this TIF project can't be just for one project. It has to be for a larger area. So everybody's just kind of holding their breath to see what this Mr. Ruley comes back with for a proposal. And, will he propose the whole downtown area as a big TIF project?
Hmm.
And that would open it up to developers everywhere. So, and if they get a tax break, what's gonna keep the people who are developing Perkins Foundry from, geez, you're giving
Yep.
him a million. How about including us in the project? So we can get a couple million in deferred property taxes. So the storm is coming. In terms of, when is our election? Sometime in June, I think. Well, we get the override election. I don't think the TIF proposal is gonna be on that election. TIF proposal will probably wouldn't take place until the fall.
Okay.
Just after people get whacked with an increase in their property tax. So, and now they want to take another hit. I don't think it's gonna fly, but
No, no.
stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
So, there's no doubt that we need some quality development in the center of town, especially those lots. They look terrible, and I'd love to see something there, but the value of that property has increased so much that in order for somebody to get in there, he's got to have some way to justify the investment. And
Right.
apartments. And originally he was up over 100, and he has downsized it to 77. But it's still a big project.
Hmm.
And
Have you seen any renderings of what these towers would look like?
yes, if you go to the planning board website, there might be two sets of renderings there. The first ones were just these big blocks of white concrete, block and fancy concrete brick and everything. His second proposal has come back with some false mansard roofs and brickwork. So they look a little bit better, but they're still huge. They're still
Yeah.
5 stories tall because the road goes downhill there. So one end of the building is 4 stories, the other end of the building is 5 stories. But when you average out the grade, it still falls within the 4-story limit. So, and I think the right around the corner, you've got another project. This is pure speculation. Where Allied Auto Parts used to be across the street from the Riviera Cafe, further down on Broad Street. The auto parts business recently moved out. And the building is more than half the building is empty. And the original owner, Mr. Origi, is still there. His grandson is actually running the business now, but he's nearing retirement also. So it wouldn't surprise me if you see a proposal made for that property very soon.
Well, I mean, we could absorb, a tower-like thing down there. It's not in the middle of town.
Right.
Oh, well, we'll see.
Yeah, but then I went to town meeting, or the council meeting, probably, I don't know, 6-8 weeks ago. And I said, you folks have seen nothing yet, because I don't know if you two have paid much attention to what's called the ADU, accessory dwelling units. And I made the statement that I think this is going to have the biggest impact on the quality, or the quality of life. Some people say it's no big deal. They don't mind living next to multifamily housing. But what it does is, if you have a house that's on town sewer and town water, and you want to put a house in your backyard, you can do that with just going down to building inspector's office and get a building permit. You can have a second dwelling unit on your property up to 900 square feet, so it's like a small cape, you can build it in your backyard. And all you have to do is you have to have water and you have to have sewer. Now, if you don't have town sewer, you can still do it, provided you've got enough land space to add to your septic system to be able to handle the added load. And it can be done without zoning, like the people down at Grange Park, they're all on town sewer. So can you imagine living down there in a $1 million home and your neighbor decides to put a house in his backyard?
And Flag Street just went on sewer, right?
No, all
Oh.
that digging down on Flag Street is street drainage.
Oh, okay.
That's all it is. But a lot of the houses on Flag Street, there's all good soil down here as far as adding to septic systems. It's all gravel. It's pretty good stuff. So anybody who wants to put in an accessory dwelling unit, they can do that. And to even make it even more bizarre, say you have one, you put one in. You get aging in-laws, mom and dad, father-in-law, mother-in-law, they want to put up a little house or sell their house, put in a house in your backyard. Then, yeah, works good. 8 to 10 years or maybe more, they pass on or no longer need it or can no longer live there. And then you feel, well, okay, let little Johnny live there or Sally or whatever. You put the kids in there as they get out of college and they can't find a place to live, so they come back there to live. But then they move on, and then you get this house in your backyard. And you decide, I don't want to be a landlord. You can sell that house in your backyard. You can condo your lot and sell the house. And then, if you don't like having somebody living in your backyard so close to your house, you say, the hell with it, I'll sell everything, and you move. So now you have $1 million home, and you've got a small cape on less than an acre of land, and you thought you had a nice, Grange Park neighborhood, and it's just going to change the whole thing. There's all your subdivisions the same way. So it's going to have a significant impact on the look in Bridgewater. As far as I know, there are no ADUs right now pending approval with the building department, but many other towns in the area are dealing with probably half a dozen of them under permit right now.
How much acreage or land do you have to erect that?
All you have to do is meet the setbacks. Half an acre. If you got enough room on your land for half an acre, you can do that. If you want to turn your garage into a separate dwelling unit, you can do that.
Oh, jeez.
So your single family could now be a two-family. The law is, Governor Healy she's pushing real hard for additional housing, and this is how she's doing it.
Yeah.
And so, certain areas in town, not a bad idea, but other areas in town, it's going to be a rude awakening to a lot of people. Because not many people really consider their neighbors when they have a desire to do something like this. And if it's allowed by zoning, it's allowed by zoning. You can do it. So it's a whole new world out there.
I guess it would
But
depend on the location. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Each auxiliary house has to have its own driveway, right?
If you're within 500 feet of public transportation, you don't have to.
Okay.
And public transportation does a bus go by your house? So like from time to time, we have the BAT bus coming to Bridgewater for serving elderly and so forth. And if the possibility of it coming by your house, that's considered the availability. So you don't necessarily have to have a separate driveway. Of course, then if you conduit, who knows what the conduit agreements look like, they're all unique. So.
Mm.
So you can have it on a half an acre, whatever fits, as long as you can meet 20 feet in the back and 20 feet in the side and 30 feet in the back.
Yep.
It's not much.
No, not much at all, to have a two-family in what you thought was, a nice single-family neighborhood. So, but it's all come apart, it's all come to reality so fast that, the building inspectors meeting I went to last week, there were two attorneys, well-versed in zoning, and they say that the problems and the issues are being thrown back at the governor so fast, they can't react to them fast enough. And the towns can enact their own bylaw, but it can't be any more restrictive than what it is for a single-family home. So some towns are saying, well, if you already got a two-family, you can't put one of these in your backyard and make it a three-family. But if it isn't connected to the house, you can. If it's connected to the house, you may have to sprinkle all three units. So there's all sorts of questions, and it hasn't been tested in court yet. But right now, people are going forward with the building permits before it's even going to court.
Mhm. I wonder if that would be cheaper to do that than to build on, say, like an in-law to your own home.
I've talked to some people, some of the other building inspectors, and they say that it's still costing $150,000, $200,000 to put an additional dwelling unit in.
Mhm.
But it's cheaper than what's an average house in Bridgewater going for now? 600,000-700,000?
Yeah, yeah.
So, but if you can get the septic on your lot, that's the big thing. Title V still prevails as it's written now. You have to have so many gallons of wastewater disposal. And of course, we're all on town water, so water isn't well, if you believe that statement, water isn't an issue.
Yeah.
But the town has an obligation to provide water for these people. Now, where are we going to get the water? Well, I went to an Old Colony Planning Council meeting, and Bridgewater, the source of water for Bridgewater right now, Ruley says, well, we can get it from Lakeville and Taunton, who draw out of Assawamsett. According to Old Colony Planning Council, that is not an option because there are already water bans in Lakeville, Rainham, and Taunton, who all draw out of Assawamsett. So our only other alternative is Brockton. So, and they get the majority of their water not only through Silver Lake, but through the desalinization plant that's downstream in, I think, Sonnet. They process the water. That's where we dump all of our wastewater out of our treatment plant into the Taunton River, and it goes down to a Sonnet, and a Sonnet takes it out of the river and works it over and then ships it back up a pipeline into Brockton, and then we can buy it back again.
Now, if we have this water problem, which I know we do, I mean,
Yeah.
they're putting up, there's something going in off of, so Street by Dunkin' Donuts, Winter Plaza, is it?
Winter Street,
Yeah, there's something
Right.
going up there big time, and we're,
four lot subdivision.
okay, then I was over by C.N. Smith Farm, but it was in Bridgewater, and there's another big thing going in there.
Yeah, it's the old Medeiros Farm, and there's a housing development going in right there. And it's so funny. You go to the town council meeting, and you got Mr. Ruley saying, "Yep, we got water for this, we got water for that. Yep, yep, yep." And they're sitting right next to him is the water superintendent, Jonas Kozlowskis, and he's just sitting there going, shaking his head. It's so funny to see it.
Well, they better find it, because you've got all these houses being built.
Right. Yeah. And they say that the Perkins Foundry project has not received a solid commitment on water at this point. However,
Oh.
a company from Pawtucket has bought the foundry, and they're probably going to be closed in about 3 weeks.
Okay.
So, and water, who knows?
Well, what happened to the people we were working with that were, had these plans and was gonna take stuff from the old foundry and, you know,
We still have a $2,500 grant coming from them. Perkins Foundry did provide a large, well, it's a ladle. It's about 6 feet around,
Mhm.
that they used to have molten iron in, and they did provide 1 or 2 large castings that are now located down. I don't think they made them out onto the island yet. When you go over the bridge to get onto the island, those big iron ladles or pots was one on each side of the bridge going out, and I believe the casting is out on the island itself. It's a big compressor housing. So, and the sign and the plaque has yet to be made.
Okay. But is
Um,
the commitment with this new owner, is the commitment still there to make the water side more park-like?
Uh, no, there's going to be some walking trails down at the Perkins Foundry project,
Okay.
where the houses are going in. That should be pretty nice because they own a good stretch of waterfront property along the river. From Broad Street, it follows the river right up to the railroad tracks behind the property. So that
Oh,
should be
okay.
very pretty when they finish with that. And if you haven't had a chance to walk the Stiles and Hart trails, I don't know. I walked them in the fall, and over the summer they built some beautiful wooden bridges in there.
Oh.
Really nice stuff. But the paths, they haven't got the paths going out to the bridges. And I just looking at them, I said, whoa, somebody took a lot of effort to carry all this lumber out in the woods to build these bridges over some of the streams. Some of them are very rustic paths. If you go down there, you park in the parking lot, and there are some paths that go out towards the ponds that are out there, and it's very pretty. It's nice to see. You should definitely go in and take a look. But that's tied up in court, and I hope they're going to resolve it soon so they can finish the project because Dutton had made statements to secure a grant that the town owned all of the land. Well, they didn't.
Oh.
A couple pieces of residential property that the town went right over. And when the owners had it surveyed, they found out that they owned some of the places where there are trails, and they said, "Hold it, folks, stop right there. Let's resolve this." And they said, "Yeah, well, we'll give you a couple $1,000 for it." And said, no, we wanted appraised. They said one particular person down there said, "I really don't want to sell it. I don't need the money. Just let's make a swap." Because it was landlocked in the middle of town land, and the trail went over it. And he said, "Let's, give me a few feet in my backyard, and I'll give you this piece of land, just to swap." And they said, "No, I'm not going to do that." So appraise it, and they had it appraised, and it came out to $14,000. And then the town said, "No, we're not paying you 14,000. We'll take it by eminent domain. You don't have anything to say about it." So that's when the owner dug in his heels and said, "No, you're not. You're going to court." So it's tied up in court. And I don't believe they can complete the project until that issue is resolved. It's too bad because it can be a very, very nice place down there. So the trails that they have in now are really neat, and it's well worth they're smooth and you can walk them real easy. You know, whether you're an older person like us or a baby carriage or whatever, it's very easy to traverse. Unless you want to go out to the beautiful bridges out in the woods, and that's pretty rustic to find them. So hopefully they'll be connected with some nice trails, and it'll be pretty decent. So from a historical standpoint, that's about it.
Okay,
I will keep you people posted about the Titicate stuff, and Sherry, I will find out about the next CPC meeting.
okay,
and what we're gonna do about that.
all right.
Okay.
Folks have any questions?
No,
No, sir.
Well, if you ever come across that name again, Jeff, shoot it over to me and I'll see if I can reach out to him and see if we can get somebody else in here who likes to listen to the Historical Commission report.
Sure. I'll dig
Uh,
around. I'll see if I can find out.
Okay, thank you. All right, in the meantime, have fun with Pokemon. And
Thanks.
you with your granddaughter, Sherry.
Mhm. Of course, and you too. We'll see you next month.
Okay, or sooner.
Okay.
Yep, good night.
All right. Yeah, good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Meeting adjourned, 7:07.